I'm Caroline Bean from Visit Philadelphia. Visit Philly is our handle. And I've been there 11 years, so I know that's like a little crazy, but it can kind of show you that I've been there as technology has changed, media has changed, and as social has sort of evolved. So, I think maybe that gives you some background into where I come from. Just a little bit more about the organization. We are a non-membership organization that we promote the domestic leisure market in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties. We don't sell conventions, and I have some of my surrounding county partners right here, so they're being good partners. We have two websites, visitphilly.com and our blog, youwishyouknew.com, which has been around since 2007. So that has evolved over time too. These two are our main calls to action for everything. And they host a lot of the content that we then distribute using our social media. So today I'll be talking about sort of the content life cycle, where it comes from throughout our department, how we all work together, how we know this content is doing well. I'll show you some examples. And please feel free to interrupt me and ask questions and everything throughout the way. So building your destination's image and activating visitors on the web. Those are two main goals for us. As you know, like the longer people are on your website, the more they do, the better chance they have of planning a visit and coming to visit. And I'll get out of the way of the slides, I'm sorry. So the content lifecycle, like I said, we create a ton of content. We have invested in content since the beginning. That's words and that's pictures. And we really have paved the way for everything else that we've done over the years as technology has changed because we have always invested in this content. So I know this is being recorded and I might regret my next statement, but if our budget was cut so much tomorrow that I could never afford another Facebook app or something fancy like that, and the choice was between photography for the year or some special tool, I would go with the photography for the year because that makes our everyday work on social and everywhere else so much easier. So we have communications team. They create brochures and press releases and not websites, and roundups, things like that. A lot of times that then becomes pages on our website, blog posts, things like that. We also have the web team that they don't just do the tech side of things. They are content producers themselves. They are writers. They hire writers. We have an editor for our blog. And so sometimes the blog creates its own unique content, separate from what the main website does. And then we have social media, which it really puts all this stuff out on an ongoing basis, but also we create content just for social media that fits those platforms that might not work for any of our other places. So the communications team, we have internal writers. We also hire freelance writers, freelance photographers. The web team, like I said, internal web team, but they also hire their own videographers, their own writers, because all the needs are somewhat different. And then they also use our feeds from social media to go back into our websites and populate those pages. And then the social media team, like I said, we repurpose content every day, all day, but we also create a lot of graphics, and we also use a ton of user-generated content, which I'm sure some of David West's, if you were in the presentation right before that, he probably showed you a couple great examples of how to use user-generated content. So how do we communicate all of this? So do any of you use a big, beautiful content management system? Anybody? All right. That's San Francisco does. That's a good sign. We've looked at a bunch, have not been bowled over yet. Not saying we never will, but we still don't use one tool that kind of everybody gets on, like Basecamp or something like that. We really just use the heck out of Google Drive. We have multiple shared content calendars, so the blog has a content calendar, the web team, the PR people, the social media team, we have like 7. So they're all shared on Google Drive, and we also meet face-to-face in a couple of weekly meetings. So content is really a huge driver of what we're doing. Where can we put our heads together? Where are we not stepping on each other's toes to recreate the same thing? So great content is a conversion machine because it gets people to spend more time on the site and check out more things to do. Everything we do drives back to this site. to the websites and gets people to stay and spend more time. So that's really a driving factor behind a lot of the content we create. So here's some tips that I have for creating great content. Use lots of big, good photos, unlike this very text-heavy PowerPoint so far, but I promise the photos are coming. So photos everywhere. Roundups, guides, and lists. Really position yourself as the content expert. You know your destination. You can make claims to the best burrito list in San Francisco. You can make those decisions. You'll get feedback, but you can really position yourself as the content expert. Diversity of types of contents. Maybe you've been doing itineraries and they've been working great for you. Well, why don't you switch it up and try a trail version? And maybe you focus on one that's like really photo heavy and less text, or try new different types of headlines to see if there's a type of web page or something that really kind of strikes a nerve for your audience. So clear headlines and subheads. We try not to have too many huge blocks of text. And repurpose successful content in multiple different ways, and I'll show you that. We can take a 6-page press release and cut it up a million different ways. Finally, hype it up. Don't be afraid of hyperbole. People would laugh at us because we love words like awesome and epic, and sometimes we get some feedback from our fans, so they're like, you guys are ridiculous. But we really feel like we are the hype machine for the city and the hype machine for everything that's fun and exciting. And that's our role, and we want to bring people along with that excitement. So I'm going to show you some examples of some types of content that have worked for us, and point out maybe why this is the type of content that could work for you and your destination. And I have to do something fancy with the slides here because I messed up. So we created a Sandwich Hall of Fame. This has been very successful for us. It's incredibly sticky. The average time on the site has been like 3 times longer than page average because we had an authentic story. We really do have a claim to having a great sandwich city, cheesesteaks, hoagies. I mean, there's a lot more than cheesesteaks and hoagies, but you probably have heard of those. It's authentic. We just made the bold claim. We used a little bit of hyperbole. So we didn't just say, the best cheesesteaks. We said, it's a Hall of Fame. And we got a little over the top. And we used really big and bold photos, which are stretched out on the screen, sorry. But that's a cheesesteak, and this is a hoagie, and these are, whether we like it or not, some of the top things that people are searching for on our site. So we invested in really great photography. This guy who shot this, he shoots for Bon Appetit and Gourmet. He's amazing, but we were like, if everyone's coming to the site to look for cheesesteaks, we're gonna make the cheesesteaks look darn good. So that's just the type of thing that we can reuse over and over again, like Dan was talking about in San Francisco. So backing up here. So another type of content, thorough lists. Like I said, this was a brunch press release that we put it on our online press room. It was like 6 pages. That's not really something that any media is going to pick up. We know that's way too long, but it's really good content for our media relations team to slice and dice and pitch a million different ways. Our web team could turn it into a web page. We post that web page on Facebook. Our blog updates it seasonally. So it's like the type of thing that we do the work the first time to give us a lot of meat to work with, and then we can use it throughout the year. So using pictures and maps, so not just pictures, but other types of images. So we did a web page, Top Fall Festivals. We put this map right up front. The maps were a new thing for us. I mean, maps aren't new in the world, but for us on this type of content, it just worked really well. And then we made sure to have photos for each of the listings in this page. But we could break it up and turn that into a guide to fall festivals on our blog. So they're not rewriting all this content, they're just repackaging it, expanding it. And then it was 60 fall festivals. So we really could keep linking back to this blog post every time a new festival came up, or anytime, every week throughout the fall season. And it was really useful content that lasted a long time. Oh, that's the picture of it. So this is our blog, just so I will be switching back and forth between our website and our blog. This is our blog, has a big photo in the background. All of our posts tend to lead with a big photo. And there's some examples of the headers and subheads we try to do. So I'm not going to get through a content thing without talking about BuzzFeed, like the BuzzFeed listicles. Yes, we love them. We're not sick of them yet because they're still working for us. So top 14 things to look forward to this fall is a different way of repackaging that same content. You know, it's a little hyperbole. We always like to say top. Top somehow works for us. It's not the same connotation as favorite or best, so we kind of sneak around, you know, any partner disagreements there. Top kind of gets the gist across that these are things that have some, you know, some wow factor that like you really should be paying attention to as a consumer. And we really maintain our editorial decisions based on that. So we make sure that, you know, we make these decisions editorially. No one's paying for this placement or anything like that. So yeah, that was a blog post. And then we focused it even more and pulled out just the Oktoberfest type festivals. And we really milked this type of content for all it's worth. So, you know, take a big chunk of content and just keep whittling it down, using it in a lot of different ways. So then we do huge guides for events that have done well in the past. So about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a Harry Potter festival that came to a neighborhood called Chestnut Hill, and my staff and myself are like all a little bit too old to like know the obsession with Harry Potter, but a little too young to have kids who are obsessed with Harry Potter. So we just kind of, it was like one blog post and moved on. And like that blog post blew up, and we were just so surprised. So of course the next year, you know, we're planning our content calendar, and it's like, okay, we got to like do more Harry Potter stuff. And every year since, we've really increased the Harry Potter coverage for this one festival. It's a good 1 or 2 day festival, but you know, it has this like huge cult favoritism or love behind it. So how could we ignore it? So we, you know, really made a huge guide to the festival on our blog, and then we flipped it around. That's the blog. We flipped it around on our website, and we made the Harry Potter guide to Philadelphia. So, you know, we figured Harry Potter might like the medical museum. We thought he might like, you know, Eastern State Penitentiary, things like that. So that's kind of like the Game of Thrones example you saw earlier, except for they did it like way more awesome in Ireland. But, you know, that's just the type of thing where it's like, how can we milk this and make great content that people are going to want to be searching for and finding our results. So news. So we can't always control the news. There's not always a ton of news in everybody's destination, but when you do have news that works for you, use that too. So we really like saying breaking news when it is breaking and when we are the ones breaking it. We like to say alert, things like that. So this was, you know, a new development, a boardwalk, and so we could use the word alert because we wanted to draw people's attention to like, this is a really cool new development in the city. Like Schuylkill Banks, that doesn't sound that exciting, but like we're letting you know, like this is actually really exciting. And you know, big beautiful photos of the new development. We really want to hype it up, let people know this is a cool thing. Since that was doing so well, what we like to do is, like I said, keep riding that wave. Accolades, third-party endorsements, like great press hits, that becomes content for us as well. So when the Huffington Post said it was like, no, I can't even remember what it was, but I think they said it was, you know, like better than New York's High Line or something like that. We posted about it and just continued to ride that wave. So we do like to bring those third-party endorsements back into our own content cycle. So then we bring in pop culture. So do you know who Monet Davis is? Anyone? Okay, good. Well, for those who don't, she was a girl pitcher for the Little League World Series, and she pitched at like 70 miles an hour, and she's awesome. She's from Philly, my neighborhood. So she was great. She captured everybody's hearts. She did this commercial that played during the actual World Series. And so we wrote about this because there is a Philly tie. It's not going to drive visitation to the city, most probably. But it is getting a whole new set of eyeballs to our page who might become interested in our other content. So we really use this type of thing to balance out our more visitor-friendly content. So, you know, just getting that mix in there. Sometimes, like something like this, we can't plan for, but you know, our text messages start flying at like 8 o'clock at night with all of my coworkers. But other things we do plan for. So we knew the Pope was going to announce a visit to Philadelphia. The Vatican would never tell us exactly when they were going to announce this visit, but we created a graphic just in case. This is in our brand campaign. It says, "I'm a popular place for founding fathers and holy fathers with love, Philadelphia XOXO." So we had to kind of make it a not too heavily religious message, but I mean, the Pope is a rock star, so really wanted to jump on that news. And as soon as he confirmed the other day, we threw this up, and it got 60 retweets. So this is the type of content that we make just for social. And then we do a lot of nostalgia anniversary. I'm sure you guys all do this, hopefully, like National Sandwich Day or National Donut Day. This was the 100th anniversary of Tasty Cakes, and just really taps into that nostalgia. That type of thing is just purely getting great engagement, not necessarily trying to sell you on too much. And then, tried and true recurring content. We do weekend picks every week. They're always successful. People constantly are verbally coming up to me and saying they use this. I say, great, thanks, because I didn't write it, but good. And then here you can see that we throw in, this is an embedded Instagram from our blog's Instagram account. So when we don't have a professional photo, we can, throw our own just made photo. I think they took this the night before they wrote the blog post. So how do we know these things are doing well? How do we know this was good content? We really rely on analytics to inform this content strategy. So the majority of that is Google Analytics, but not only. We examine those Google Analytics monthly, daily, or not daily, but weekly, seasonally, and of course yearly, to really see what did well last season, how could we change it. We survey our readers, so I'm about to release our 3rd annual social media survey, which is so helpful because it really does inform what they want, how they want it, and then it also gives you really good things that you can pat yourself on the back and sell it to your higher-ups or sell it to your partners. So for one example is we know from our last social media survey that I think it was 87% of our social fans and followers did something in the city or the region after reading about it in one of our posts. So we know where sometimes you just can't make that jump from is social booking hotel rooms. This survey can tell us yes, they're doing something. They're making a reservation or they're booking a hotel room or they're going to an event. And that is really helpful when you're trying to prove your ROI. And we also use social media analytics. I've been hearing about Simply Measured a lot in the room. That's also who I use. They are amazing. And I'm usually not shilling for people, but they're really helpful. Of course, Facebook analytics, Twitter analytics, all the free ones, a couple other different paid ones, but really looking at all of them in a couple different ways. So Google Analytics can tell you, your top main pages on the website. I don't expect you guys to read these, but the top posts for the year or the month on our blog. And this really has helped us. With our blog, it's really helped us change our content strategy for the blog over the year, or over its existence. In the beginning, it was really niche, underground things. What do locals only know? And that was really how we positioned the blog. And we weren't getting the readership. Over time, because of looking at Google Analytics and the feedback, we realized it really needed to be more broadly appealing, more fun, more festivals, more events, more dining, and just something that's accessible. It didn't need to we didn't need to work so hard at being so cool. It really could just be very informational. And then you can't just have Google Analytics do all your thinking for you. We did take what we know about page views and things and plot them on the scatter chart. So if you categorize any of your web pages or sections of your website, or if you tag your blog post, you could do this. The vertical, which I can't remember if that's X or Y. X. The vertical is average time on page with higher as it gets higher, and the horizontal is page views. So up in this top right is where we want all of our content to be. Of course, it's not. But up there is news, which is great. People love news, but we don't control the news. There's not always that much news that's fit for a tourism audience. The next is dining. We do a great job. We do a lot of dining. People love it. The biggest diamond that you'll see is events and nightlife. We cover events and nightlife all the time. They do very well for us. So down over here in the less successful categories, the tiniest little diamond is shopping, all the way to the left, and arts is the bigger diamond right there. So Google Analytics isn't going to say, so, don't ever do shopping posts again. That's where we actually have to use our brains and kind of strategize and analyze and think, what is this telling us? It could be telling us maybe we just need to try more shopping posts. We don't have a shopping audience because we don't write about it very much. So maybe one thing we'll try is invest in a little bit more retail news. But then the arts thing, so okay, our arts content, we write a decent amount of it. It's not doing that well. Are we going to stop writing about it? Well, no, we have a really strong art scene, and it would be, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. So, you still have to make some editorial decisions. You can't let the analytics drive every single thing you do, but they are a good guideline to let you know if there are some changes that you need to make. So this was a Wordle that we created from those social media surveys. It was an open-ended question, like, what do you want from us? And they said events. That's good, because that's what we're doing. But, if you dig into this a little bit more, you don't see contests, promotions, you don't see all that stuff in here, which is really interesting. Every time we ask them, nobody really cares about contests and promotions. We do them all the time anyway, because everyone seems to want them. But it is kind of interesting when you actually have feedback that can inform what you're doing. We ask them questions like, do you want, there's locals on the left and out-of-towners on the right. Do you want information about this weekend, next month? Okay, well, unfortunately for us, they answered all of the above. So it was all right, so, okay, we'll keep promoting short lead and long lead. But this type of question, every year, throughout the year, I start jotting down types of questions that we can ask in those surveys. And then Facebook Insights. I'm sure you guys all look at your Facebook Insights, hopefully weekly, if not daily, like I obsess with. But I don't think you should let just that one click of Facebook Insights do the work for you. What I find really helpful is exporting the data and looking at post-level data. And then I just delete all the columns that have nothing to do with what I want to look at. And I sort a million different ways, and I just color code, and I dig into this Excel sheet. I look at posts that were posted in the morning, in the evening, posts that were just photo posts or link posts, link with photo. Did we have a call to action? Some things that Facebook can tell you and some things that they can't. Was it an accolade? Was it about a park? Was it about an event? So look at a lot of different things and just start to see the commonalities. So this is pulled, I think this was one of our top ones for this month, October 1st. So, what did we kind of dig in and see here? So first of all, it was an accolade. Our market was named one of the best markets in the country. Then it was a link post. You guys we've all been talking about Facebook's algorithm change and how, organic reach has been declining. But, keep up with their algorithm changes, because as soon as we stopped, we had been doing a lot of the post a photo and your copy and throw that short little URL at the end of your copy so that you can get both the benefit of the photo and get some clicks. Well, as soon as we realized that Facebook is no, we don't like that anymore, we switched to these link posts, and they are going crazy for us. And I've heard from a lot of partners in the room and other tourism people that they've been seeing really bananas reach numbers and engagement lately too. So this is an algorithm change that is working for us. But one big benefit is we make sure to have that link be associated with a really good photo, a big, good photo. And that's key. You don't want some weird logo that pops up that doesn't have anything to do with the content, right? Associated with it. So, another good things that we see is that on Facebook, just plain photo posts, no call to action, no link. They do really well. Now, our web team, if they would be happy if we never did something like this, because they want us to always be driving traffic. But you really have to mix and match the things that people are wanting to see and engaging with on your Facebook page, so that when you do want to drive them to your site, they're not overwhelmed with you asking them that every single day. So this is user-generated content. We're an urban destination, so like people love skylines and they also love sunsets. So this is kind of like the trifecta, and it worked really well for us. So engaging and clicks aren't always the same. We also look at things that just purely like were big traffic drivers. Here's an example of one where we did do that like thing I just told you about, where we stick the short URL in with the photo. And this one actually worked out well for us. And it was like, okay, what did we do here that worked so well? Well, it was a good post. It was about free museum admission. Well, and we wrote free in all caps twice. So we really hit people home with that. We had a very direct call to action. Click through for the full list of participating museums to get your free ticket. So they knew they had to click through to get something good on the other end. And we don't promote all that often, purely because budgets don't really allow it. But we do have a specific arts budget where we could promote this post. But it was already doing well before we promoted it. This was also popular in terms of clicking through to the website because, again, we use that awesome breaking news, which we try not to overuse the word awesome, but it does work for us. So these are some commonalities we see in our top posts. They might be different for you, but perhaps these could translate to things that work for you. Direct calls to action, really we drill down to does click through work better than check this out? Does click through work better than read more? We look at those very subtle changes in words to see which is doing better. Link posts and photo posts, I told you, are doing better right now until who knows what Facebook decides next week. The link post should have a good OG photo, so that's Open Graph OG. I honestly work with our web team to make sure that happens. They do it. I couldn't tell you word for word how to do that, but if you have, it's just a little bit of coding to make sure that you have a good photo associated. Like I said, accolades, hyperbole, breaking news, superlatives, anniversaries, and then check your best timing. So 7 o'clock works better than 6 o'clock, that type of thing. So Twitter also has free analytics, I'm sure you guys know. Although I think they're hard to find. I actually have to type in analytics.twitter.com. Maybe I'm missing something, but I always have a hard time with that. This is actually from Simply Measured, but it'll give you the same information. And we look at a couple things, what's most engaging and then what's driving most clicks, and we try to balance the two. These are two of our most engaging posts from October. What do you see? They both have photos. They're both skylines. Neither one of them is actually driving traffic back to our site. The one on the left doesn't even have a link. The one on the right is driving to a Huffington Post article. So we really try to balance, we're not constantly selling just ourselves. This third most engaging post does link back to us, but again, it's that accolade that people are loving to see. So some commonalities of top tweets that we've been seeing through our insights. Photos hosted on Twitter obviously increase engagement. I'm sure you guys all know that. Third-party endorsements and accolades, people really love to see that. Tweets without links perform better. So really try to mix it up. And then every so often, if you have enough space, we do put a direct call to action in. If you ever say fave this tweet, your guide to ramen in Philadelphia, people will fave the tweet. So it's crazy. You tell them what to do and they do it. So I'm going to go through some case studies where hopefully we can show how content moves through the whole organization in a couple of different ways. And they're all from a couple of years, so not all of them are the most up to date, but they're all great ways that have shown how we've started to really work together as a team. So the first one is we had a campaign about Philadelphia's neighborhoods. So our communications and web team got together and they said, we know we're both going to be covering the neighborhoods. Let's figure out how to do this once so that we both can use the resulting information. So they made content development. Communications team made a backgrounder to the Fairmount neighborhood, which they then posted online on our website. So this is a press release you're seeing. And then this is a brochure that they wrote. And then the web team, visitphilly.com, used it to populate not only a page about the neighborhood, but all of the listings of attractions, restaurants, hotels, and things in that neighborhood. So this is the web page that we resulted, and a map. And then this is, I guess, an itinerary of the neighborhood. So then our blog waited until there was a major event in the neighborhood, and then they published their guide to the neighborhood in conjunction with that event. So, the website is like the evergreen stuff, and the blog is like boots on the ground coming in this weekend because there's this night market event. So here we really tied it to something that's happening in the city. So then the social media team obviously promoted the fair amount content surrounding that event in particular and other major events. So here's like a Facebook post we did with photos about the event, photos from other events going on in the neighborhood, our guide to the Fairmount neighborhood, and then we identified external opportunities, so advertorial opportunities that our advertising team could use to take this same content, and they bought like native advertising on Eater, and they could reuse that content. So we're not starting from scratch every time. So this is an example of night market in a different neighborhood. So this is an example of how we use the content lifecycle to promote a particular event. So again, web and social teamed up. We decided this is really we're gonna blow this event up in a good way. So the website created a page about the event, and then they created an Instagram gallery page because one of our goals was really to get people to Instagram using the event's hashtag, which is Night Market, Night MKT, and ours, which is Visit Philly. So they really wanted to show that it's a really visual event, and we wanted to get people excited about sharing it. So that's their page, and there's the Instagram gallery where we told people to also use our hashtag as well as the event's hashtag. So then the blog, wrote several lead-up posts leading up to this event every single time, telling people to use the hashtags for the event. What did I do? And then we all promoted that hashtag using basically all of our direct-to-consumer power before the event. We did a couple of the Instagrams where we put graphics or text right over the graphic. And then we even did, sorry, I'm having trouble with my clicker here. This was a Facebook post where we reused that same graphic. And then we promoted during the event, we used our Instagram account during the event to show that we were actually on site printing people's Instagrams. Just kind of like Leah talked about for Explore BC, having the on-site event, we printed people's Instagrams. If they used the two hashtags, they were so psyched to get a free business card size photo. And I think just this event, probably we got maybe 1,000 people printing from that event. And then we tweeted about it during it, and then afterwards we could take everybody's Instagram photos and really feature that again. So we're kind of closing the circle on all that content. We could see that we really moved the needle there, doubled the uses of our partners' hashtag in just that one day. 50,000 impressions to the sites. We reached more than 600,000 people. And then the night market reported that 30,000 people came to the event. It was their biggest ever. So really, when you put all this content behind it, it actually does pay off. And it was a really cool event. So this was one that our PR team really loves. So our PR team put together a Dining Trends press release where a section of that was about star chefs coming to Philadelphia. This was on our press room. Next month, Washington Post wrote an article exactly informed by the press release. That article was amazing, and then we wrote about it on our blog. So, again, we pull in that third-party endorsement, so we're not always the only ones hyping ourselves up. The Washington Post tweeted it out, and they tagged us. because they then know that we're already paying attention. We could interact with them, and then we're really just kind of completing that life cycle there. And then the final one just happened recently. This was top 15 must-see holiday attractions. Again, we're using that word top. We have the number 15. People love numbers. They love lists. We have this map in here, a lot of big photos. We focused it down to 12 things to look forward to for our blog. And whereas it had been very attraction-oriented on our website for the blog, it was very verb and action-oriented. It was like, things to do versus things to see. And then when we posted it to Facebook, we made sure it had a strong CTA, click-through for the 15 must-see holiday attractions. The fact that we have those words in initial caps is no accident. We really want to show that there's something of import on the other end of this link. We use superlatives, so it's the oldest Thanksgiving Day in the country. It's a link post with a great OG photo, that love statue is like that, it's like the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, people love that love statue. It's like the Statue of Liberty for what people just kind of gravitate to. And it went bananas. That Facebook post had a reach of 1.7 million, which is that doesn't happen a lot to us. So it was huge, and it got a lot of really great engagement. And our website resulted that in that 24 hours after the Facebook post, they got 90,000 page views. So that's not normal, but we like it, and that's why Facebook is not dead at all. So that's the type of thing we like to see. We are not done with this, though. Oops. We haven't done this yet, but we will be putting it on Pinterest. However, most of our photos are horizontal. Pinterest loves vertical photos. So what we do is we're starting this new tactic where we stack our horizontal photos into a vertical graphic with some explanation of what the pin's all about. Like I said, we haven't posted it yet, but here's an example of where we posted our craft brewery trail graphic in the same way. Just takes up so much more real estate on Pinterest, and people, respond better to it. So that's an example of us having to adapt our content depending on what platform we're using. So is this all working? Is this content strategy working? Well, our website has been rising in traffic every year. And a lot of that is coming from social. Just October alone, 200,000 clicks came from social to our sites. We tag all of our social posts with UTM codes, so that's where Google Analytics knows that, can tell if, for instance, something's coming from Facebook, so it doesn't get lost in, there's this dark social world, which dark traffic, dark social term, where basically if you're using the Facebook app on your phone, Google Analytics a lot of times won't pick up that traffic that it's coming from social. So you might be under-reporting how much traffic social is driving to your sites. And so we use UTM code tagging to make sure that we're not missing all that traffic. So this is traffic coming from social to our sites, and who knows how much of it is spreading and sharing even further down the line. So yeah, we're going to keep working on great content and sharing it, and if I never did another contest or promotion or Facebook app again, I feel confident that our social media would still be really strong as long as we continue to invest in being a great content publisher. And I think that is it. And I do have some examples of content that bombed recently, so if you want to see that, I have that too, hidden after this slide. So anybody have any questions? Yeah, I knew it. And this is sad. This is really sad for a group of DMOs. Well, the first one's not that sad, but Veterans Day is just not that exciting of a holiday. People did not really care about our Veterans Day roundup. That was just a recent one. The reach was, a third of what our normal reach is. So I don't know. I mean, we thought people get really excited. It's Independence Hall and the flag. People love that, but it did not do well. But then these three are sad. This is all recent examples, and this one is about our hotel package. So anything that's overly salesy it just kind of tanks. I mean, obviously, like, it's a logo on an image, so, like, that's salesy. It's not an ad, but, like, maybe people think it's an ad. You know, we're telling people to book the hotel package for Columbus Day. Like, it just, you know, they know when they're being sold to. The next one's also a hotel. These are our lowest performing posts for October. So, you know, it's no coincidence. But this was about a brand new hotel. I was actually like, oh, awesome, a hotel that has good photos. Like, we should use this. Hotels are our number one stakeholders. That's how we're funded. So it is very important to us to get the hotel message out. But, like, again, it just kind of tanked. Like, nobody cares about the new hotel, even if it's a cool photo. And then this one is another hotel. It's like, breaking news. Like, there's just going to be this awesome 12-story boutique hotel on this corner of Rittenhouse Square. It's huge. Yeah. Her question is so they don't make the large portion of our audience, but they're our stakeholders. So, like, so, I mean, basically, the way that we get people to book hotels, I think, is giving them more reasons to visit. So, you know, when I do think that we have a good opportunity to talk about the hotels themselves, I try to jump on it. And it's like hasn't been that successful. So, like, maybe I really need to rethink that. But, I mean, we work with the hotels all the time. I'm not going to never post about a hotel again just because they were low this month. But you just have to, I mean, I think we sell the destination, and that's going to fill the hotels versus selling the hotel in particular. But in this particular case, we also totally bombed because when this hotel goes up, a beloved diner is getting destroyed. So we were a little tone deaf on that. Like, you can't see them, but it's like, poor little Pete's, and then, like, this is horrible, ugly architecture ruining a city space. Like, why are we celebrating this? You know, this is going to get rid of an institution. So we were like, oh, you know, we messed up. Like, let's put something up pretty soon. Yeah, so not everything works. I think that was it, yeah. You know, we've thought about farewell things before. I mean, like the KLM Airlines. We've done that once before. We have a Visit Gay Philly Facebook page, and one of the first LGBT bookstores in the country was going away. We really debated, like, do we want to talk about, like, something going away? In that case, we did go for it. Like, you know, we said, like, you know, use this space to kind of talk about your memories in the comments. So it was good, but, you know, we do really want to balance that type of thing because, you know, especially with us, like with our neighborhood, we only have specific, you know, there's not that many LGBT institutions, and if one's going away, like, that's not great news. Like, KLM's going to have another awesome, you know, airplane. But so we do think about that kind of stuff a lot. I probably should. I mean, the Little Pete's thing was my fault. Like, I should have paid attention to that. But, you know, things like that happen. So you do have to get more creative. Just hotel news is not going to cut it. But also sometimes you just have to do it too. Ask another question because I don't want to end on this. Yeah?
I'll bring you a mic. I'll bring the mic.
My question is, I have a horrible time coming up with a way to use a content calendar. Like, I've tried everything from physically writing it down on a piece of paper, you know, printing the calendar, because I feel like I'm often moving stuff around. So I may go through and plan the blogs, but then I realize, oh, wait, there was a holiday here that I missed. I'm going to move that. So I constantly feel like I'm moving stuff around, and it's hard for me to always do it on a Google Calendar. How do you guys, you know, get around? You obviously have multiple people planning it. For me, it's basically just me doing all the social, website, blog, all of that stuff. So what's a good suggestion, I guess, on how to use a calendar for social?
I mean, that's a good question. Like, we definitely move things around constantly as well. And that's why a shared Google Calendar does work, because, you know, if we've planned on posting about something that is going up on the blog today, and then they've decided not to post it, like, we need to be looking at that. They don't have to, like, so that way, you know, Christina doesn't have to G-chat us every time. I made a change. Like, there's no way she would be able to do her job if she's constantly have to be telling us that she's made some changes. I'm sort of a hybrid like you. Like, I do like to print stuff out and scribble on it, but I am so thorough about trying to go back and make the changes online because so many people just are relying on it. So if you're the only person relying on it, I mean, just do what works for you. If that's printing out or color coding, or if it's a Word doc, I guess just, I mean, it really depends on how your content moves and if you have to like show a lot of people. For us, the Google Docs have been the way to go. But if anybody else has a suggestion there, jump in. Mm-hmm.
I'm Adrian with the Canadian Tourism Commission, and we've just last month started using Trello.com for our content managing. It's
Trello?
Trello, Trello.
Oh, Trello. Mm-hmm.
It's a free service, and it's so far it's been working well. We're going to roll it out to our other destination partners in Canada as well. So.
Oh, good. So Trello.com as a content management tool.
Any other questions? All right.
Can you talk a little bit about the survey that you did, or the surveys that you've done that have getting people to talk about what they want to see on the website? Because it seems like you've had success with that, and how do you use that kind of information?
Sure. So we do a reader survey for You Wish You Knew, and then I'm the one that does the social media survey. We host it on, was it like SurveyMonkey or something like that. Post it as much as possible, and I think we've usually done it for about 3 weeks, as much as possible without annoying our fans, on each of our social platforms. And don't promote it because we don't want people who aren't our fans taking it, although we recognize that some might. There are definitely limitations to that type of survey. It's self-selected. People who want to take surveys tend to be women, tend to be people who love your stuff anyway or hate it. So I don't take it with a grain of salt, but I also recognize there are some limitations to it. Then we ask them like which of our, because we have a lot of different social platforms and a lot of different campaigns. So and they Visit Philly is our main one, but we have like Philly 360, You Wish You Knew. We have a bunch of different ones. So we ask them which ones they follow. That way we can slice and dice the answers. So like if you follow our blog's Twitter account, do you also follow the Visit Philly Twitter account? Is there crossover? We ask demographic questions. Do you have kids? Do you own a home? I don't know if we say do you own a home. I think we ask, basic race, age, that type of thing. But it's a lot of like, what type of content do you do? Or do you want what? And then we ask a lot of image questions. Has following these accounts improved your impression of Philadelphia? A lot, a little, not at all. Then we ask a ton of questions, and this is my favorite part, about actions taken on a post. Have you ever shared a post with a friend or family member based on reading it? Have you ever taken a friend or family member to an event after reading about it? Because I'm sure like for many of you, visiting friends and relatives is like a huge segment for us. So we want to know that if we are talking to locals, which we are a lot of the time, that they're bringing out-of-town guests to do things. That way, like that really helps us prove to ourselves and to whoever we need to prove ourselves to that talking to locals is not a bad thing. We ask, have you, liked a part, like somebody else's Facebook page, Twitter account, after learning about it from us? And that's stuff we can report back to our partners and say, we're helping build your social following every time we tag you or link you, things like that. And then we ask a couple different things to locals and to out-of-towners that we don't ask everybody. But it's like, have you ever, out-of-towners, have you ever planned a trip based on reading something on our post? Have you ever booked a hotel room? How many times have you been to Philadelphia in the past year? And then we ask open-ended questions, and those are actually really fascinating, and they're funny too. And like a lot of times people will say like really nice things about your social media, and so like, I always pull those quotes and put them in big font and show my CEO on the top of the report. So we slice and dice those reports a million ways, and they show up in our annual report. They show up on, we create graphics just for them. We put them in presentations. We use them every time we have to talk to someone to really help us prove the value of social media on our sites. And I think, Lauren, where are you? From Georgia? I think you saw our report once, and I know you did one too. Have you ever done a survey? Have you? Awesome. So she based her content calendar based on the results from her survey. So I'm telling you, it really does help inform, which is, and it's just, it's just illuminating what people want to help you give them information. So I highly recommend it. I can't wait to get the next one back. Any other questions?
Any more questions? I got one.
Okay.
What are your thoughts about the Facebook reducing the organic reach, and do you have any strategies or thoughts about how you mitigate that?
So I mean, I haven't. We'll see like little dips and things, but we really try to react. So as soon as we started to see that like our tactic of sticking that little short URL into the end of the copy was not doing well anymore, we did some digging and realized it was like link posts that we were supposed to do. We just really try to follow closely what they want, and then I talk to you guys, I talk to the colleagues. Are you seeing this type of thing? Are you seeing this reaction? And people do help and they do share. Like I said, we do promote some posts, but for us, it's very budget driven. It's like we have budget for With Art and we have for some other campaign, and we can't necessarily use that to promote all of our posts, so we just don't do that. But I do think promoting your best performing post is not a bad idea after you've given it a little bit of time to live, just because maybe that is the way that you're going to get new eyeballs to the page. I'm not convinced that Facebook is dead, and I'm not convinced. I think, when you start to see that drop in organic reach, you have to look at what you're doing. You're not going to outsmart Facebook every time. Like, these aren't the only non-performing posts. Like, we have other stuff, but like we try to, really pay attention to like, what did you do? What did we do here? Sometimes we can figure it out. Like sometimes, one time on a Halloween post, we wrote Happy Halloween. It was a great post otherwise, but we think writing Happy Halloween just kind of lumped it into all those other Halloween posts that were happening, and that's probably why it lost reach. But like, if we try to pinpoint what we think we did, we try not to replicate that activity. David, do you have a question?
No, it was more of a comment just to say that DMAI has a product called Arena. I don't know if you've heard about it or not. One of the things that you can do, they have a free and then they have a paid service. And one of the tabs that you can put your CVB destination with other like CVBs, and it averages the scores on various metrics. If you put in Destination Arena, you'll see it. And it's promoted by DMAI, but one of the tabs is social. And it's very basic, but at least it shows you on a scale of what your budget is and what your staff is, and the reach of your Facebook versus the reach of the industry average. So you can see immediately, like when things are going askew, it's not just you, it's the entire industry. Mm-hmm. And it just gives you some reaffirmation. So it's a free service. I sit on the advisory board for Arena. And so I would recommend that if any of you want to do it, Rick Vaughn at DMAI is the head of it, but you can certainly use that and link up your tools. It's a great way to report to your, to see where you stand versus the industry really fast. So just a cool tool. And so it's neat to see that.
And I would say there's sort of I have two other kind of responses to that. One is that Facebook does want to show good content to its users. Like, they want its users to stay. So, I mean, it all goes back to the content. Like, are you showing your fans what they want to read? And so that's where you just invest in getting the good content, and then they'll naturally want to read it. And then the other thing is, you just can't put all your eggs in the Facebook basket. Like, Pinterest is slow growing for us. We have like a decent page, doesn't drive a ton of traffic, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm trying new things like these vertical graphics and things like that, because you can't, Facebook's not going to be there forever, but we do have to find new ways of continuing that like traffic, that traffic push from social. So content and diversification.
Yeah, and I think actually the announcement from Facebook last week when they said we're going to reduce the promotional posts and contest-related posts, you know, in context they said we just want great content to bubble to the top. So they didn't say we're going to reduce all page posts,
Right.
and I think that's where DMOs are actually in a good spot because we actually have stuff that people like to see. All right, thank you very much, Caroline. This was really, really, really good. Thank you.